Hello, everyone. My name is Katlin Harris. I am a doctoral candidate in musicology here at the University of Illinois. Today, I'm here with Professor Wigley, who is one of our associate professors of voice, who specializes in contemporary vocal performance. And we are here talking today about her involvement with the upcoming Wind Orchestra and Hinesley dual band concert on March 7th, where she is part of the performance, one of the earliest performances, if I don't remember correctly, for Noctuary for a Day, apologies, by Will Healy, I believe.
Yep, that's correct.
So first of all, thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview with us. And I wanted to open up, it's such an evocative title. Um, I don't know, this was the first time I've ever heard the term noctuary. So of course,
Hmm.
a Google and you're like, oh, a journal of nighttime events. So I was wondering if you could speak a bit about what is this piece about?
Yeah, what is it about? So the poetry is a day's poetry, and it is very much nighttime. So the word moonflower keeps appearing, moonflower, moonflower. And I think that this could be a lot of this prosaic piece of poetry could be taken a lot of ways, but how I see it is having a dream about a more collective consciousness of thinking outside of oneself to create just better in the world, to create a sense of inclusivity about all humans on the planet. Like the prose, it says, if words were birds, unpotted and free. There's a lot of moments that explore concepts of freedom. So I take it as a dream about more freedom for all things on the planet, and also the theme of nature is woven throughout. So it's very dependent on how the MC, and we can get that to a second, wants to take that text and then run with it in the freestyle rap that follows all of our sections of a day's poetry. So it could be taken many ways, but that's kind of how I see the prose that I'm specifically singing.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. I really like that you hit on the nature of dreams because I know, like, we often associate dreams and nighttime, and there's just something wonderfully freeing about that. Your choice of word freedom. So I'm excited to hear how the poetry interact with that. But back to your point, this piece involves an MC.
Yes.
Highly unusual
Yes.
for I would say most large scale works, and I'm happy to see one for wind band too. Wind band for vocals and an MC. That is a wonderful smorgasbord of
Yes.
vocal styles to be part of it. Can you speak a bit more about the role of the MC in this piece?
Yeah, so there are really no recordings. There is one very kept recording from a school that has done the piece already, but it's going to vary from performance to performance and MC to MC as to what they choose to say, what text they choose to incorporate, if there are words within a day's poetry that they really want to grasp onto. So I have not had the chance to work with the MC yet. That will happen this week before I perform on Friday. And I'm very excited about it as to see where he takes the prose, and if there's a very specific theme, or in the different sections, if there's different themes that do emerge. Um, I've definitely never collaborated to this degree with an MC before, so I'm excited about that. And I know the wind ensemble is too. It's really cool. The piece is super supportive rhythmically of that style of performance. I think it's really smartly written in the rhythmic groove styles and the changes of meter that are going to really assist in giving the right emphasis to an MC style. So I'm really pumped, but I don't really have a good reference point quite yet.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really interesting. It sounds extremely improvisatory, which
Yes.
I love how that fits in with some of the themes that you actually mentioned. I think there's something wildly expository about having someone that can freestyle off of all these themes, and it really adds to this sort of uh, I don't want to say dreamy, ethereal, maybe perhaps,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of nature of uh, the song. But I'm really interested. Do you find that the piece ends it prioritizes rhythm quite a bit, or is it only in some sections?
I think it prioritizes rhythm all the way through. Um, and I constantly have to tell myself, like, I can count. I have a master's degree in music. I teach this all day. I play piano, right? But it's really the meter changes pretty frequently. And what I love is that, like, there's really, really strong trumpet riffs, and then it goes into like marimbas kind of taking the lead, and then it's like a piano moment. And with the meter shifts, it's really cool. It emphasizes different pieces of the ensemble, and kind of for the vocalist, where I'm taking my lead from. So that's cool as a musician, just to be able to experience that.
It almost sounds like if the MC is by nature going to be improvising a lot in the freestyling that they do, it sounds like the piece has almost been written to kind of evoke that improvisatory nature. If there's a lot of different pieces going on that kind of relate to each other, but it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting sparkling of colors where nothing is super constant, and you're going to get a lot of different sounds coming at you at various different points.
I think that's a great way to talk about the piece. And I also say, even though I haven't worked with the MC yet, what I'm envisioning is almost a call and response. So sometimes the MC comes in right upon my vocal line where there's like a little piece of prose, and then it feels like a response to that little piece of prose. And then I frequently will come back in with a more like a really lyrical vocal line after the MC. So it feels like a little sandwich of more lyrical singing with the content. So I think it almost is like hearkening back to that, like a rhythm and blues kind of call and response in a way, which makes sense because it's a really contemporary piece.
Yeah, and so would you say that your vocal lines tend to be more lyrical, or do you also fit into that kind of more rhythmic nature of the ensemble?
They're rhythmic, but in sort of the fluidity of how the patterns are vocally, it's just more lyrical. They fall like very scalar, and of course, there are specific notations of rhythm written in, but it feels like a more legato sensation, especially when you're thinking about freestyle like rapping going on.
Yeah. I think that's going to bring a wonderful contrast to it between having these two different vocal styles, but
Yeah.
I think it's going to so much dimension to this piece. I haven't even heard it yet, but it sounds like there's so much dimension to this piece. Um,
Yes.
I can only imagine the type of challenges that has actually brought to the preparation of this piece. And I'm curious if you can speak to some of the challenges that actually come with either this piece or perhaps performing music that's so new in general.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is because it's so new, there are just still discrepancies between, like, for instance, the vocal score and the full orchestral score. So Professor Hauser and I are looking at each other like, do you have that? Nope, I don't have that. Okay, maybe I should go back to the score and see which version we're doing. And there's also this great collaborative aspect. So, well, if I like that, that's in the vocal score that they might have taken out in another version for what big orchestral score we're using right now, maybe we could add that in if it's not affecting anything else. Do we like it? I don't know. There's this kind of great thing about the ebb and flow of a new work. We don't feel handcuffed. It's not Mozart where, like, you can't, if you improvise Mozart, everyone knows. So it's a living, breathing, in process work, and I think that the challenge, that's a part of the fun, and that's part of the challenge. And the other, just kind of nuts and bolts challenge is scheduling a vocalist, one person, and then an MC, another person, and then the wind ensemble who's got they're all students with the rehearsal time. So I think that's just a nuts and bolts type of thing that's always going to be a challenge when you've got two adults that aren't students and then a student ensemble. Just trying to schedule everybody in the same room comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah. I will say probably the grandest lesson of life I've learned so far is that scheduling is a bear at all
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing.
That's the hardest
Um,
part. Yeah.
It really is. I really am so interested by this notion of like this piece is this currently living thing. I feel like so many times we often, oh, it's in the score. It's this piece of music, like it is fixed, like it is how it is. And yet it also kind of that type of imagining kind of eschews the way that these pieces actually are rather living in the way that rehearsals like, oh, we're going to do it this way, and no two ensembles are going to be doing the same thing. So I think that's a really wonderful take to bring up. I can only imagine, again, that because it's so new, it's even more of a living. It hasn't had time to kind of settle for certain conventions to start to exist. Um, of course, I believe you said this, but there's no recording ready for this yet, right? So, in many ways, you're part of some of the earliest performance of this to kind of set the original type of metric for the types of possibilities for this piece, which surely has to be wonderful and interesting and also slightly terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is a little bit. Yeah, it's very interesting, and I always think as a voice performance person, we wonder in our undergrad and then our master's degree, like, when am I ever going to use all this music theory? Gosh, I have to have so much theory, and we always think, am I ever going to use it? And this is a moment I'm like very grateful that I had 8 semesters of music theory in my undergrad degree and more in my graduate degree, because I'm like, I'm using it. I'm really using it. I'm like, a lot of this feels really complex in the harmonic kind of scope, and then with the meter changes, I'm like, uh-huh, yeah, I'm having to do my work as a musician, and I'm really grateful that um, that I am a musician, because it's different being a singer and then being a singer who is also a musician. So, and I can tell all my students, it's also cool to be like, when you do new works, you use all your skills. You really do.
Right. It's hey, it's nice to know that, yay, skills. There's nothing better than thinking, oh, I'm never gonna need this, and then it turns out, in fact, oh, I did need this. This is
I need it.
wonderful. Thank
Yep,
thank you, past me, for doing the work that present me gets to take care of.
that's exactly
Um,
right. Yes.
we love to see that. I do want to know, what's something that you hope for audience members to take away after hearing this piece?
I hope the audience members get excited about all the collaboration happening in the School of Music, because it's pretty rare. I'm a lyric theater person, and bands, like I'm marching over to the Harding Band Building, and I feel really cool, and it's super fun and interesting. But that is just this thing, like me being in the Harding Band Building is not a normal occurrence. So it's just a cool collaboration, and then to have somebody from the community coming in as the MC and also collaborating, I think is really cool. New works is, I think, something that we should be really proud of within the School of Music at the University of Illinois. I think the audience can get excited about that and get excited about overall the positivity that's included in this piece. It's like right now, I think it's really important to keep our eyes open to all possibility. And I think this piece is about dreaming of things to come, dreaming of feeling like there's hope. So I think that's what I hope for the audience, that they can come away with those larger themes of dreaming of hope for literal humanity. That sounds like a really big task, but that's why we do music, I think,
Mhm.
to feel those things.
And the fact that you're highlighting collaboration and community both within the School of Music, right? So oftentimes, the band and the vocal departments aren't exactly going to be together in the same room, except when there's a board meeting or something.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see it from that perspective. But the MC is from the local community, right? So being able to bring in someone that is external, even to the university system, is such a wonderful testament to both collaboration, but a sense of community both within the School of Music and reaching out into actual members of the local, surprisingly uh, lively Champaign-Urbana music scene. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's so wonderful to have this sense of community. And I really hope that everyone enjoys seeing both that on display and coming together in this sense of dreamy hope for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. I think they will.
Well, I want to say thank you again for doing this interview. For people interested, the concert is again going to be on March 7th. That's this Friday. So please look forward to the Wind Orchestra and Heinsley Symphonic Band concerts. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Katlin.